What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Kick-Ass Podcast. I hope you're having a fantastic week as always. Today, we are here to talk about WWE Elimination Chamber and do the prediction for the PLE that will be Saturday night. Unfortunately, so sad for me, I will be watching on delay. I have to work on Saturday night, so that sucks for me. I hope you guys enjoy it live. There's nothing like watching, obviously, a live event. Thankfully, we are living in a world with streaming and everything like that, so it's not like I have to buy a pay-per-view and watch it on replay or anything like that, or anything crazy. And I was thinking and talking about this with a friend, not to already start off on a rant, but we're just so lucky to be out of the pay-per-view days, because can you guys imagine, every month constantly shelling out 40, 50, 60 bucks for these monthly PLEs, or I guess they would still be pay-per-views technically then. But man, I'm just so happy we're not in that, and I will stick and I will bitch and complain about the Peacock and the fact that I have to wait until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to watch the delayed replay. But man, guys, we are lucky to be in a streaming age, but I am still one of those DVD people. So there's that. But again, guys, it's an exciting show. I'm really, really excited for the PLE itself. I'm going to try to see if we get out early tonight, if I can start it maybe on delay and then catch the first half. Because tomorrow's going to be a packed day for me. But man, and I say all that just in regards to the review show, just to try to obviously get it out in a timely manner, but we'll see when I can actually watch it. Or maybe do a joint show. I don't know. We'll see. But man, guys, getting back to the excitement of it, it really feels like WrestleMania season, The Royal Rumble really did a kick-ass job of setting us up and getting us ready and really on the road to WrestleMania, as cliche and as corporate as that is now. But it's true. And I think Elimination Chamber, and seeing how, first of all, the reaction that Sammy got on SmackDown was just unreal. And I kind of wish, and as crazy as this may sound, I would have been totally okay with just seeing him standing in the ring and just reacting to just the love and the people that were there and just cheering for him. And if you guys haven't seen it, I don't even know how long it was, how many minutes, maybe 5-10 minutes. Probably closer to 10. I could be way off. But whatever it is, definitely go out of your way to watch it. I'm sure the clip is on YouTube and probably viewed over 1 million times by now. But man, it's one of those reactions and just one of those moments where it's damn, this is why you love wrestling, and this is why you watch, right? This is why wrestling is just different than any other sport and any other game and anything else that's out there. Yes, you have the Super Bowls and the big games and just the heart, the heart heavy, right, games that are out there, and the emotional games, and each game has its own story in the various leagues and stuff. But wrestling is just different. Wrestling has that storyline. Wrestling is just that continuous journey that we're all on. And tonight, with it culminating at the Elimination Chamber, in a lot of ways, for the bloodline with storyline with Sammy, obviously, it's going to be really, really fascinating to watch it play out, and especially with the Usos not being involved, with Jay apparently not being, or not going to be a factor. Last understanding that I have is they still are not able to get into Montreal, so I think that was why they kind of did those angles on SmackDown with Jimmy specifically, but they didn't mention Jay. So I'm not sure if it's just a Jimmy thing, and then they'll still have Jay appear in Montreal. I'm not sure, so I'm obviously, right, that's the whole point. Another reason to watch and to tune in for sure, but I don't know, and we'll get into the prediction of the outcome of the match once we get to the main event. But just the build up and the story, and it's kind of, in a lot of ways, it's kind of sad for me. I don't know what this says about me, but it's sad that I'm sad that it's ending, right? And this chapter is ending. I'm obviously very excited to see where it goes from here for Sammy and Jay and Kevin Owens and the Usos and obviously Roman and so forth. But it's just, we really had a gem, and we really had something special that we've been watching for the past year plus. Of course, 2 years since Roman has been back, but really with Sammy being involved, it obviously really, really took off. But it's just sad to see, in a lot of ways it's sad to see it ending, but it's so satisfying with the outcome and the ending that we're getting, even though it's I guess maybe I'll just start with the main event. Normally don't do that, but since I'm kind of just like going on a word vomit here for the love of Sammy and everything, I might as well just transition over. So with the culmination of this, you can obviously go a lot of different ways, right? But I think as much as I would love to see Sammy win, I think it's most likely obvious to everyone that Sammy's not going to win the titles. And I can't even say that's a bad call, right? And to me, there's no reason. Well, I'm not going to say there's no reason because you can make a shit ton of reasons. But to me, there's more reasons to keep the titles on Reigns going into Mania. And I think those are, and again, I keep saying the word obvious, but to me, it is just kind of obvious, even though Sammy has been so great and the story is so great and the reaction that he's going to get tonight is going to be amazing. And we all want Sammy to win so badly because he's our guy, right? Like we've been on the journey with him, and in the stories, everyone out there is comparing it to Daniel Bryan and everything like that, which total obvious comparisons there as well. But to me, it's a different journey, and to me, I don't necessarily seeing this character, the Sami Zayn character, needing the victory in the sense of winning the titles. I think the victory for him is going to give Roman Reigns a hard kick-ass match and a hard competitive match and to really push Roman to the limits. And the only way that Roman is going to be able to win and to get the victory is to do some fuck shit, you know? Whether that's with Jey Uso, which could, you know, obviously propel into a lot of different routes for that leading into Mania, which I think is the main focus after this. But I think it's probably going to be a solo interference or something Solo Sikoa related. I think that they have kind of been leaving him out of the talking point for the past couple weeks specifically, and to me that's kind of apparent, and I think that, unless I missed something obvious, but to me I think that's kind of done on purpose to have us not necessarily forget, because we're not going to forget him, but not to consider him in the deciding factor rather of the match. So I don't want to say necessarily a screw job because, you know, they're in Montreal and all that shit. And I'm just not about it. Like, we're so over it now. It's been, 25 years? Something like that? 23 or 26 years, something like that. So, I'm me personally, I don't want to see, like, any type of, like, screw job in that sense, right? Like, heel cheating to win, things like that. Like, that's standard, as sad as it is to say, so I wouldn't consider that a screw job, but at least keep it in that lane and don't do anything else with like a referee or anything like that. Just stick to your normal WWE like cheat victories. So that's the main thing though, is how does Roman win? Does he just go over Sami clean, which I think would be I don't want to say a huge mistake, but I don't see that really being the best payoff here. And as much as I hate to kind of go down this route, but I think the best option is to really have Sami give Roman a hard fought match, 20 plus minutes, going near 25. And then that's when, of course, like your ref bump happens or something in that regard. And then Solo comes out if he's not already at ringside with Paul. And something happens in that sense. But I think the main thing, and the main issue with that, for me, is how does that translate and carry over into WrestleMania, right? I've heard some people say, you know, you can do Sami Zayn and Jey facing off against Solo and Jimmy, which I guess, and I would be really intrigued to see just the character development between Solo, because obviously he would have to say something, you know, to help Jimmy carry the load between now and Mania, even though we're not what, 2-ish months out. But that's still a good amount of TV. So yeah, I guess you could go that route, but I would take a wait and see approach on that. That's not my favorite. That's just, to me, it's just too mumbled, because what are you going to do with the tag titles, right? Like there's just too much messiness with that. And then you leave Kevin Owens out. What do you do with Kevin Owens going into WrestleMania? You can't just not have Kevin involved, especially with how heavily he's been involved. And that was the whole reason. He was the whole deciding factor with Sami turning on the Bloodline at Royal Rumble. Like, you can't just not have Kevin involved. So, as obvious, again, as it may be, I think I think the end point is still going to be the Usos facing off against Kevin and Sami at WrestleMania. While that may not be as exciting for a lot of people, and a lot of people may want Sami involved in the title picture at WrestleMania, unless something so heavy happens tonight, like the reaction is just too strong and it carries over in the next couple weeks, then they have to make like an audible call, or just not even necessarily an audible, but just go a different direction and insert him, because they probably have that, or something in that lane on the back burner, especially being in a similar route like we've mentioned with Daniel Bryan. So I don't know. The triple threat, and my opinion, I think the triple threat would be cool, right? I'm not even a hater on the triple threat. Yes, it's not the most exciting, and we'll get into the whole Cody aspect later on. Maybe not in this show, but after we get past this show, and probably, well, of course, in the weeks following. But I think tonight, the direction that they take to have Roman retain, I think is going to be the setting point for Sami going into Mania, and that'll really be the telling point. And I think that'll be a huge seed that'll be planted for us to really determine and to see, like, oh, okay, we're going this route. It is going to be a tag match or something like that. I don't know. And again, I wish we knew if Jay was able to go into Montreal. I don't know if it's just a Jimmy thing or not, but that is a huge, like, red flag, or not even red flag, but a huge, like, wild card for me, right? Is the whole Jay aspect. But I think tonight we get a solo interference, and that's the deciding factor. Nothing too shocking there, but still going to piss everyone in Montreal off. I think that carries over into SmackDown, which Jay, because I'm pretty confident they'll be leaving Canada since they were just there this on Friday. I don't think they're going to have any more Canada shows, so they should be back in the States. So Jay and Jimmy obviously should be good to go in that regard. But I think that could be another chapter, right? I think like that could be another dissension between Jay and the Bloodline. Jay is pissed off that Solo got involved, and says some shit like, you should have just let Sami and Roman hash it out and just left it alone and let them go one-on-one, type shit. And then Solo can get mad at Jay, say, this is blood, like blah blah blah. So that can be like a little foil in the factor there, and then just kind of building for that for the next couple weeks, and just really test Jay. But then at the end of the day, he's going to side with his family, and then Jay does something dastardly to Sami, and then that really kicks off and really just super kicks us into WrestleMania, right? And really just lights a fire under that angle, and just kind of go from there. So that's just kind of quickly where I see most likely it going. Again, like I said, unless the reaction is just so heavy and so strong for Sami that WWE feels forced to make it a triple threat between Roman, Cody, and Sami. But I don't feel like we're at that point. And again, things could change, and I could be wrong, let me know what you guys think on Twitter at ASHMANNS, and the show's Twitter page at @kickashpodcast_. But I get it, and I wouldn't be shocked, and I'd be happy with it, and I would love it because I'm a huge Sami Zayn fan. Well, yeah, I feel weird saying huge, like, because I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, I'm a diehard fan, I've been watching him since the beginning of his journey, right? But just what I've learned from him, especially over the years, just like the human he is on the outside of the ring, the Sammy for Syria, the stuff that he does and everything. He's just a good dude, right? And so it just makes you feel even better for wanting him to succeed at the highest level. And that would be the main event of WrestleMania. So I totally get that. But yeah, as much as I hate to say it, I don't think we're there. And I think it is going to be a tag match because there's just so many factors and so many other players that wouldn't have a logical journey without Sami. And that's a good thing. Like, that shouldn't be, in my opinion, looked at as second place, as much as, yeah, you're not going for the number one prize, but you're still a huge factor of this year's WrestleMania. So many of the different journeys and characters are correlating, and the core is Sami Zayn. So I think that's a huge victory and a huge accomplishment. So I don't know. To me, I've spent a lot of time already talking about this. So sorry guys, but to me, I think that this journey is still in a lot of ways just beginning, even though it's culminating tonight in Montreal. I think the Sami and Roman chapter of it is going to end. And I think that the Sammy J solo is going to continue. And when I say Roman and Sammy end, obviously not completely because it's still bloodline related, but I just think that is going to take a huge step back because that's not going to be the focal point anymore. And rightfully so, you know. If Sammy isn't going to be going for the heavyweight championship at main event, or at the in the main event of WrestleMania, then the Royal Rumble winner, rightfully so, should be the focal point. And if it's not, then what's even the point of the Royal Rumble? So, and again, we'll get into the whole Cody aspect of it on a different show, because that will probably spend 20-30 minutes on Cody easy. And he's not a factor in Montreal tonight, and that's a good thing. You need to keep Cody as far away from the Elimination Chamber in Montreal as you can tonight. I think that, not that they would boo him, but I just think that he's not needed, and that's, again, not a negative thing. He's just not needed tonight. I don't think he's needed to be seen backstage. We don't even need to see a video package unless it's something related to the Rumble. Tonight's about Sammy. Tonight's about Roman. Tonight's about the bloodline culminating in a lot of ways and progressing in others. And just go from there. So, again, long journey through the main event there, and starting off with that. But my official pick, of course, is Roman Reigns retains. Going, and I think he just passed the 900-day mark, which is insane, for the Universal Championship. But yeah, I don't see that ending tonight. And one last thing, really quick, nor should it, you know, like, I thought about this earlier too, like in a lot of ways, what this kind of reminds me of, because I'm just thinking about the reaction that we're going to be getting tonight, right? Like, how disappointed the fans are going to be in Montreal for Sammy not winning. It's going to be a similar reaction to just recently Drew, right? When they were in the UK and Drew didn't beat Roman Reigns, and he was, there was 50,000-60,000 people there. So in that respect, that's just another reason why you can make the case for Sammy to win. And as crazy as it sounds, like, I'm not going to say I could see it, but it wouldn't be crazy, right? Like, it wouldn't be if WrestleMania wasn't a couple months away and we weren't on the heavy journey that we're on with Roman. It wouldn't shock me, and especially if one championship was the only one that was up for grabs, you know, if it was just the WWE Championship or something like that. But yeah, so to me, I just kind of wanted to throw that out there because I had thought about that as well. Just the reaction tonight, it's going to be next level, and it's going to be so tempting to want to put it on Sammy, just like we wanted to put it on Drew, and how quickly that has changed. But then I'm not saying Sammy is on a different level, I think, and no disrespect to Drew, but I think because the story is just different, right? Like, the story is just on a different level compared to Drew and Roman was at the point. So that was kind of like the last little, I don't want to say cherry on top because it wasn't anything that fascinating, but the last little, I guess, ingredient I just wanted to kind of like throw out there, just to wrap up my thoughts on everything that's going to be for the main event tonight. And it's going to be just a fun show, and that's why I'm so bummed that I'm going to be watching it on delay, and I'm so salty about it. But again, you know, it's just going to be fascinating, and I can't wait to see the outcome. So with that being said, we will move on to the other matches on the card. I'll just scroll down to I don't want to say the bottom, because no disrespect. But just starting with the other matches on the card, we have Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar. This one, I think I'm kind of torn on this one with what I really want to put my answer as. I'm conflicted with it either being pretty much like a no contest, or I don't want to say disqualification, but either like a double D, or well, I guess a double DQ, or not a double DQ, a double count out rather. Just some like fuck finish like that, which forces a rubber match, unless I'm forgetting of a match. For some reason, I just feel like I'm all over the place memory-wise with the journey between Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. Whatever reason, I just feel like we've just been back and forth, and just like start and stop. So that's why I really don't feel like we're going to get a resolution here. I think that this is going to be some type of fuck finish again. Sorry, guys. But I think this is going to be, or we get some type of cheat finish where like MVP or the Hurt Business interferes on Bobby Lashley's behalf and costs Lesnar the victory, and Lashley wins, which pisses off Lesnar, and then we go into WrestleMania. But again, like I'm blinking on their victories against each other, so I don't know if they're 1-1 or if it's lopsided or anything like that. So blinking on that right now. But I just feel like we're gonna go to WrestleMania with these two guys, and the only reason I kind of may sway on that now is the interesting and maybe odd call out from Bray Wyatt that we got on SmackDown. He just randomly calls out Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar and like puts them on notice and essentially says whoever the winner is, like he's coming for them, which is very intriguing. And I don't know why triple threats are like a thing right now in my brain, but what if we don't get a victory or a victor between Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar, and this leads to a triple threat match at WrestleMania between Bray Wyatt, Bobby Lashley, and Brock Lesnar? Like, just the dynamics alone is what is tickling me just thinking about that. Like, it's just, you have the creepy, like, just literally in a world of his own character of Bray Wyatt, and then you got Uncle Howdy out there doing God knows what, whether he's a good guy, a bad guy, it just depends on the week. And then you'll have Bobby Lashley, most likely at that point, back with MVP and the Hurt Business as a whole, and they're just doing their own thing, you know, kicking ass, taking names. And then you got Brock Lesnar, who's still in his cowboy version, got his ponytail, you know, and it's just picturing the three of them standing in the ring at WrestleMania, and just the Uncle Howdy on one side, then you got the Hurt Business on the other side, and ironically enough, no one on the side of Brock Lesnar, no Paul Heyman or anything like that, but just, for the sheer mind fuckery of it all, I would love to see that, but I don't think we're gonna end up getting a triple threat, but if not, I don't know what we end up doing for Lashley, because I think it would end up being Lesnar versus Bray, which would be really, really odd as well. But again, odd in a really fascinating way for me. Like, I would love to see Lesnar just reacting to the weird shit Bray does and reacting to Uncle Howdy and seeing, like, is he gonna sell for for Uncle Howdy? Like, is he going to be affected by the creepiness and of, like, the Fiend and the masks and the Funhouse and all this? So it's just, it would be really fascinating to see kind of two completely different worlds collide. So as out of left field as it is, like, I would kind of totally be okay for it. And again, I say this now, and as we're watching it weekly, it could be a complete shit show and it could be the worst thing that we see. But I don't think that. I think if it's gonna be involving Brock Lesnar, they're gonna put a certain level and a different level of impact and focus on it and prioritization for it. You know what I mean? So I don't know, as crazy as this is and as not as expecting as this was for me, or as totally unexpected, I guess is the proper way to say that, but I would kind of be here for it. And before SmackDown, if you would have asked me, I would have been like, that's completely insane, or why, just like, why? Now that I'm thinking about it and kind of talking it out with you guys, I'm kind of oddly intrigued and here for it. So if we do have to have a winner, and I guess I completely switched from what I originally said with Lashley. I'm kind of in the boat with us not getting a victory, even though Bray said, you know, whoever wins. I think that can kind of be the thing. I think that we may not get a victor here, but then that kind of defeats the whole purpose of not even getting a winner, right? So I think the Bray thing is just really fucking with me. And I don't know, like, you can't just have Bray call out the winner and call out Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar and then not follow up on it. So yeah, this one is really, oddly enough, hard for me because of the whole Bray Wyatt factor of it now. So with that being said, and I should look it up, but I think we're gonna get a fuck finish, and maybe even Bray interferes. Maybe it's Bray's the one who interferes and causes a no contest and just like no winner period for the match itself. So that's what I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with some type of fuckery happens from whoever. We don't get an official victor, and fuck it, we're going with a triple threat between these guys at WrestleMania. Or if not that, then at least Bray Wyatt versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, and we'll see some of the craziest shit, the craziest build, between Lesnar and Bray Wyatt, and or maybe or Bobby Lashley included in there, maybe not. But that's what I was saying. If Lashley isn't going to be included, I could see him doing something for the U.S. title related, and just really dominating, and just maybe. Again, that's a whole nother topic, and we'll get into that in a little bit once we get to the chamber match. But to wrap up this match particularly, guys, I think I'm going to go with a non-finish. Someone's going to do some fuck shit here at the ending, and it's going to set up, going forward, somehow, Bray Wyatt and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. So yeah, guys, it's a crazy time. It's a crazy, crazy WrestleMania season we got going on. But next up, we have Edge and Beth Phoenix facing off against Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley. Again, guys, this story we've talked about for over a year now, or close to a year at this point. I think we're finally going to get a culmination here. I think my official pick is going to be Balor and Ripley. I think that's going to be, hopefully, huge heat for them, since obviously, Edge is from Canada, so you got the built-in love right there. Not that you need it, because Edge is just a loved character, universally at this point. And then Beth is also universally respected as well, so they're going to get a really solid reaction. But I'm really intrigued too to see how Montreal reacts to Rhea Ripley. Montreal, yes, they love their people, but they respect wrestling, right? Wrestling is very important to that country, and well, not the country, but to Montreal, period. So I think that it's just Montreal, their reactions, and they've been called like a bizarro world type thing as well. How WWE phrases different areas and in different parts of the world, like UK, Brooklyn, Philadelphia, sometimes, with the fans who just react, for the work rate and different reasons for wrestlers than what we see on TV. And I'm really curious to see how they react to Ripley. I think with the build and the stardom that Rhea Ripley has, and just the path that we all see her really starting to really progress on and to really take off on, it's exciting, and I think I don't think that's going to go overlooked. So yeah, I'm really, really intrigued to see if Rhea's just going to get booed out of the building with Finn and Dom, or if she's going to get some love. Not that that's really a huge factor one way or another, but just for me personally, I'm just kind of intrigued to see. Or to see if it's going to be a little bit more level, but I think this is going to be a really good, solid match. I can see it going 15, 20 minutes. Maybe not that long, depending on time-wise that they have, because the chamber matches themselves do take up a huge chunk of time, which is why we only have, I think it's 5 matches on the card. But yeah, so with this one, I think that you got to give it to Balor and Ripley, though. I think that, especially like I was just saying with Ripley, with the journey that she's on, not that it would be a huge L, or a huge impact to her momentum, but I think that you just, why, why give her a loss? Why give Judgment Day a loss? They're one of the best things on Raw right now, especially the relationship and the chemistry and just the dynamic between Dom and Rhea and just Judgment Day in general, I really love this version of Finn Balor that we've gotten to. It's just different, so I don't think you want to really do anything to dampen that, and I think Edge and Beth Phoenix obviously can take a loss here and not be crushed, so I'd give it to Judgment Day, so that's going to be my official pick. But moving on to the next match, we have the first Elimination Chamber match. And again, I don't know. Obviously, we're going to have, I'd imagine, Roman and Sami in the main event closing the show. So it'll be interesting to see how they, just the lineup of the show, period. I think we'll probably open with a chamber match, and then we'll end with the other chamber match that'll be remaining, which will probably be the men's. Or maybe they'll open with the men's and then have the women's right before the main event. I could see that as well. So that'd be my official layout. But yeah, so at least on my list, though, we're starting with the men. So we have the Elimination Chamber match for the United States Championship. Your champion is Austin Theory, defending against Seth Rollins, Montez Ford, Damian Priest, Johnny Gargano, and Bronson Reed. I'm not going to get too deep into this one because, not really that much to get into chamber-wise matches, because there's not really that many intertwining stories with these guys. I think it's going to be a really kick-ass match. I think especially the addition of having Montez Ford and Seth Rollins in there, I think those guys are going to create a lot of movement and just a lot of excitement, you know, and I think me personally, I think Ford is going to be probably the star of the chamber match. To be honest, I could really see him and Seth starting the chamber itself and going the distance. And I could see, hopefully, you know, ideally, like if you really want to start building Montez and really just, I'm not, you know, not even saying to break up the Street Profits, but just to get, you know, another star performance under his belt and just kind of like a performance to have in the back of the fans' mind. I could see you really, like I said, starting with Montez and Ford, having him just really shine and do some crazy move, whether it's either off the chamber itself or off the top of one of the pods. Just doing something dope, you know. The dude is just crazy athletic and talented, so I'm really excited to see what he does in the chamber. And I'd love to see it come down to him in Theory. And my official pick is Austin Theory retaining the title itself. But I would just really love to see this be a star-making type moment for Ford. Or at least him just get a moment to shine, you know. I think dude deserves it. I don't think it's his singles time quite yet. And I would really want to save that first singles victory for when it's, you know, built up more properly. My official pick with this is going to be Austin Theory retains. I think it's going to be a really good match. I think my pick for the star of the match is going to be Ford. But I think all the guys are, especially Austin Theory too, I think they're really going to want to go out there and just prove a point. Especially with having the United States Championship be defended in the chamber, that's a big deal. So, my pick, again, is Austin Theory to retain, but I think Ford is going to have a kick-ass night, hopefully. But the last match that we have on the card here is the final Elimination Chamber match, and that is for a shot at the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania. We have Asuka, the new version of Asuka, the evil Asuka, facing off against Liv Morgan, Nikki Cross, Raquel Rodriguez, Natalya, hometown girl, and Carmella. I think Natalia's is she from Montreal or Toronto? I think she's actually from Toronto, but, you know, from Canada. But I think I heard somewhere that not that there's beef, but just because you're Canadian, like, for instance, like, if you're from Montreal, you know, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have the same love. Like, it's that you don't see a Toronto person necessarily as, like, a hometown hero type. If all the Canadians out there, if please let me know. I'm really intrigued. That's just something that I heard. So it's not like a blanket Canadian thing, right? Obviously. But that's kind of the perception that WWE wants us to have. Like, you're just Canadian, period. So wherever they go in Canada, you're the hometown hero. So I'd love some insight from all of our Canadians out there. And shout out to you guys. Like, I wish I was out there sometimes. But yeah, so I think this one is pretty cut and dry. I think this is, again, my word of the show, feels like it's obvious. But I think this is obvious. I think this is going with Asuka. I think it would be a huge loss to have her debut the evil version of Asuka at Royal Rumble, and to kind of, not that she's been on a hot streak since then, but to just go this different route for a wash, you know what I mean? Or to have someone else win it, and this is WrestleMania, right? Like, it's not like this is just some random pay-per-view match or just a random match for a shot at the championship on a random episode of Raw. You know, this is for a shot at the championship at WrestleMania against Bianca Belair. So I think this needs to be taken seriously. And the shit that I saw on SmackDown with Nikki Cross, like, just dancing on the announce table, and Carmelo, shout out to Carmella too. I mean, I know she's not in this match here, but it just made me think about it, just thinking of SmackDown, but and Nikki Cross. But Carmella, like, she gets a lot of shit, but I think she's really underrated and underutilized. And I like that she's kind of going back to her older version of what does she call herself? From the chick from Brooklyn, like, what, I forget exactly the moniker, but just that version, but she's tweaking it, and it's not just like a complete, just like piggyback off of what she did in the past. And I don't know. She didn't completely annoy me on commentary as much as I read on Twitter that she annoyed some other people. But yeah, I wish that they were taking the. Oh, she is in the match. Duh, right there. I said she was in the match. I don't know what's happening, guys. But yeah, like I just. That's why she was on commentary. So, um, yeah, like I don't. Not that I see Carmella winning. Obviously, my pick here is Asuka. But I think you really need to focus on after the WrestleMania season. I think you really need to focus on the women's division as a whole and just really put more emphasis and more seriousness on it and just I don't know, do something. Gotta do something. Gotta do something. And we'll be getting the draft at that point as well. So things hopefully will be changing. And just shaken up, but something's just missing and something's just off track a little bit in my opinion. It's not terrible or anything like that, but it's something's just not cooking. So my again official pick is Asuka. So we'll get the evil Asuka versus Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. And we'll obviously get into the picks at that point for WrestleMania once we get a little bit closer. But that wraps up the card for the Elimination Chamber. Again, the show itself I think is obviously going to be really good, but it's pretty much all about the main event, which is really exciting and just really it's a good time to be a wrestling fan, obviously as a whole, but just the story that we've gotten, the journey that we've gone on with Roman Reigns and the bloodline, it's just to see it culminating, like I said earlier, and kind of culminating in a lot of regards and then going on a different path in a lot of different regards. Hope maybe, and again, like I said, I'm not going to get back into it, but we could stumble into another triple threat situation for the main event at WrestleMania. I just don't personally see that, but shout out to Sami Zayn and shout out to everyone who's going to be in Montreal tonight. I'm very, very excited for you guys and stoked to see the atmosphere and see the environment and just the love that they have. I mean, like I said, if you didn't see the clip from last night, you got to go see it. I don't even know how long it was. I don't have a good judgment of the time apparently right now. But yeah, guys, it's gonna be a kick-ass show, and then we'll get a review show out hopefully sometime soon. But thank you guys so much for checking out the show, downloading, listening, wherever you guys do that at. It's truly appreciated. And we will be back hopefully within the next couple days with a review show. Like I said, depending on when I get a chance to watch it in full, depending on the delay, maybe if Peacock isn't, a piece of shit like they were for the Royal Rumble, I can watch it in an earlier time frame. But we'll see, guys. As always, thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk soon.